it's my understanding we're the largest suburb of San Diego now. We're over 80,000, and they want to push us further. We do have all the tech companies, biotech companies down the road, which are only going to help us grow. Dexcom is a company down the road. I watched them since they were private and they went public. I bought some of their stock. It's a great investment. But they brought in other companies too because their device was so revolutionary. An implantable glucose monitoring device. It's great to have them here in Mira Mesa. They brought in Apple though. Google brought in the Nexus with them to work with them on their device. That's pretty cool. We also have like the headquarters not too far over here for WD-40. I don't know if a lot of you guys know that. World headquarters. That's really cool. We got one of the bigger companies here. Mira Mesa is a great place. It's one of the reasons I moved here. Very diverse community. We got great food here too. Lots of good little spots to eat. I mean, this is a great community, and I want to see it thrive. And so that gets us to the first kind of purpose on the agenda. Why are we here? Well, a lot of us in the community feel like our voice isn't being heard, and we want our voice to be heard. So we're here to be a coalition of people in Mira Mesa that can bounce ideas off and really push our local government to do the things that we're looking for to help get our voice out. Because I feel like sometimes our voice is silent and our voice isn't being heard. And that's ultimately the agenda. Now I know we have Kent Lee's office, okay? He's our local rep. I know we have the town council, and they've worked hard for Mira Mesa. But I think we can do a little bit more. I think we can do better. I do. I personally do. And we're not here to be opposition to those groups or to the Kent Lee's office. We're here to work with them. And to let them know this is what we're looking for. Okay, so that's my vision for this group, is we want to be a sounding board for the people in Mira Mesa to get our voice out. And it's important with local government too, because one thing I know working with the city, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And Mira Mesa is silent, and we need to start voicing our voice. I heard somebody earlier, they were talking about, what was it back there? You were just talking? God, I forget. Is that a brain freeze? When I was asking you guys what you guys wrote up on the board. What was it that you guys put up? I can't remember names. Me? No, you. I would say schools in the area, the growing population.
Yeah, we're growing good. Like this community is growing. 3 routes. They're gonna build something behind lawns. I mean,
we are growing. I mean, what is the projection? I mean, Joe, you're pretty active. What's the projection they want from Mira Mesa in the next 10 to 15 years? Is it 120,000?
50,000 more than we have now.
That's huge. And so we need to kind of coordinate and get our voice out there so we're heard, because there are a lot of things that we need to really push local government to do. And if you are the squeaky wheel, you get the oil, and that's really what we want to do. We want to work with the groups that we already have in place, but also be a sounding board for everybody to come in and where everybody feels welcome. I want everybody to feel welcome when they come in so that your voice can be heard. And we can address some of these issues that we have before us. If they grow us to 150,000 or 130,000, that's a huge population growth. And if you've driven down Mira Mesa Boulevard during rush hour, it's impactful.
You mean the parking lot?
Yeah.
It's not between 5:30 to 6 instead of 4:30.
Yeah, it's impactful. So that's really what my vision is for this group. To really grow this group and be a voice for Mira Mesa, which I think we need. I mean, who in here would say that we need to have a bigger voice for the things we need in Mira Mesa? I'm definitely on board with that. All right. And with that, one of the things we want to talk about tonight, moving on to our second agenda, is looking at the renovations for the Mira Mesa Community Park, the Phase 2 updates, and kind of go through that. So I know a lot of you, I have put out the GDP, which shows the park, and I'm just going to go through that real quick. Let me bring this up. So, as many of you know, the planning for the renovation of the Mira Mesa Community Park and the Gil Johnson Recreation Center is something that's been planned for a long time. It's something that, when I was with youth baseball and sitting on the board, they talked about all the community recreational group meetings. At the time, I think they were called the recreational advisory groups. They changed the name since then. But it's something that was constantly brought up, and we were very excited. When the plans were kind of finalized, I think it was around 2012, that this project was going to go forward, I was personally very excited because I had 2 young boys at home, and I especially excited for the swimming pool to be built because I would get to go to the pool and spend time with my kids. And when they broke ground in 2015, I was extremely excited because I knew the next phase was phase 2 with the swimming pool and the renovations to the south side of Marion. But we have yet to see that happen. And I know the city can work and get things done fast because they put up Snapdragon Stadium in like 2 years. It didn't take long at all. And yet we're still waiting on a project that if you look at your GDP, I'm not going to go through all these slides. But there is one I really want to focus on. And that's the one with the GDP right in front of you. If you look at the bottom of that page, can anybody tell me when that was initially drawn and finalized? 2005. I think the initial plans were earlier than. I know Joe brought up an article from the newspaper when we were at the last community recreational group meeting, and gosh, it's been like 20 years.
Yeah, they were talking about it.
But once the funds were allocated and everything was kind of finalized, we've been sitting here waiting for this phase to happen. And so we're really looking at that particular, I think, groundbreaking date in 2017 to where we are now in 2024. Funds are allocated, ready to go, and the project keeps getting pushed down the road. Now during COVID, maybe that was some good reason for it. But to continually push that down the road, and then see other communities getting new parks and new facilities, you know, that at this point I'm finding unacceptable. Yeah, so the city did put that out to bid. I think in November they pulled the bids off the table because the contractors who bid on it didn't meet DOE or different standards that were expected of them. And now the city is putting it out to bid again. And I am hopeful that that'll go through and we'll get that project going. But the other thing, as you guys look at your GDP, you'll see a lot of things up here. There's building, laser pointer. Where's the pointer? Down here. I mean, how do you get this laser? Get the laser here. Or on this one. Oh, that's okay. I don't need to put clear up. I'll just point to my finger. So if you guys just have a map right here, senior center, got the centers here, which is the different topics that we'll talk about later. This is the current Gil Johnson Recreation Center. This is the proposed pool. And this is the expansion of the Gil Johnson Recreation Center with another gymnasium. Now, during COVID, it's my understanding that these plans were changed. But when you go to the city website and look at GDP, what do you find? You find what's right in front of you. Nobody in the community that I know of has really been informed of this except for those who sit on the committees or the planning committees and stuff like that. I wasn't truly aware of it until I had Andy Phil come down to the rec center back in May because I was working. He's the director of Parks and Rec. I asked him when the park renovations were going to happen and take place and about the new rec center. He said, oh, that's not going to happen. We changed plans. And nobody in the community, to my knowledge, knows that. And it's my understanding they're moving those plans or the new rec center, which is this building right here, down to 3 routes.
Oh, wow.
That's not essential.
And I don't know anybody I've worked with in youth baseball, little league baseball, and neighborhood basketball, or any of these local youth organizations who wants that built down there.
Well, that's Jennifer.
And so I find that a little disheartening because we already waited 7 years for the groundbreaking of a pool and a renovated community park. And they did the other side in 2015. It's one of the weirdest things when I walked through this park. As you walk through the north side and it's beautiful, lots of security lights, it's nice. And then you walk through this side and we're still stuck back in the 70s when it was built. And even some of the beams on the building have rotted and deteriorated away from termites and just dry rot. I think there's one that I know I could go up and pull all the way back to the foundation. So I mean, at some point that's going to become a safety hazard. We're still waiting for these renovations, and now they're talking about moving things down to a new development where people don't live and pay taxes in this area. Where we sit here, we live, we've raised our kids, we paid our taxes. And so, for me,
Wait, they're not residents of San Diego?
But not,
It's not developed, fully developed.
what's that? Well, they may be. But it's a new development and they're not there yet. So we're catering to people and the population doesn't exist. And we've been here and we have been asked for this for years. In the community of Mira Mesa, in good faith, we've been waiting for this, thinking the city's going to follow through on the promise. The city is not going to follow through on that unless we make some noise.
Can I give you a brief explanation of that?
I don't know if we need explanations tonight. I really don't. What we're here to do, I mean, you can talk about it if you want in a little bit. I'll give you an opportunity. You guys all know Jeff Stevens? Jeff Stevens is on the town council.
And you've been here forever.
Yeah, Jeff's done a lot of good work here. I will say this, we're here and I'm a little frustrated with the process. I have some, but Jeff has worked hard for the city and done some things. I mean, we had the south side or the north side of the park redone and it looks beautiful. A lot of that work with him, I know Joe's here. A lot of good work. We got to applaud that. Like I said, we're not here in opposition to anybody. We're just here to voice our concerns, but our concerns are not being heard right now.
I mean, the company that paid millions of dollars off of that previous development, you know, the mining company that had Floyd against the development, they should be the ones that put in the rec center.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. This is the
So,
center of this.
it is. So that's my big thing now. We've been waiting in good faith. And I tell people that all the time. I don't call it the center of I call it the hub. We have the mall over here, Good Eats, Target, Bonds, shopping. I mean, when I talk to parents who bring their kids in to drop off for youth sports or activities, they love it because they can drop their kids off in a safe environment. They can get an activity in, whether it's arts, crafts, or they doing volleyball. And they can go shop and get some food for dinner and then come back and pick their kids up. I mean, people want to be here. This is the center. The high school's across the street. The senior center's here. It's beautiful. And we deserve better. I mean, we have some of the best tech companies in the world right down the road. We have some of the greatest companies you'll see, I think, on the Fortune 500. I mentioned one of them earlier, WD-40. A lot of people don't know what they build. They do 2,000 plus to do all this stuff. We deserve better. In my opinion, we deserve better. And that's really what we're here, to voice our concerns and to get things done. And it starts, I think, with the first project, is looking at this rec center and looking at the Mira Mesa Community Park and getting that project completed. Like I said earlier, I know the city can get things done. They built Snapdragon Stadium like that. I know there's millions of dollars behind it and all that good stuff, but we deserve that too. We do.
Question I had, you brought it up, so it was in the original plan, with the budget and all that stuff, now, it's still gonna be in the budget, you're gonna build someplace else, you think?
Yes. I don't think it allocated funds for that. So when this was initially planned, you see phase 1, which has been done. We had phase 2, which they initially, I think, included everything, but they took out the rec center and that became phase 3. And my understanding is there are also some improvements that are going to happen in the front of Mira Mesa High School with that, with phase 3. But the plans have changed, and I today have not seen any plans come across of what those are. Some of them sound good to me, though. I will not lie. The pool that's on there, the 25-meter pool, I heard they were going to make it a 50-meter. That'd be awesome. That would be good. We have a big community. More pool space we have is great. You know, for the population we have in this area, I know I've heard Joe talk about it in our rec council meetings. We're supposed to have 6 rec centers for the population here. We have 3. At some point, and I think I told this to Jeff too, at some point we're not only going to need the expanded rec center here with the additional gym, we're going to need 3 rigs too, quite honestly. We're going to need both. And it needs to happen soon, and if they say they're going to circle back and come back to Mira Mesa and build a new rec center after 3 years come back, we're going to be waiting another 20 years.
So, why isn't the developer of Three Roots funding their own rec center?
That is not something I can answer. I'm not a budget guy or how that works, but we are going to have somebody talk about the budget here in a second, kind of what the funds we have in the area. Okay. But that's really what we're here to do. Going back to the part 1 of this group, is we want to be a voice for other things, not just the rec centers, but for other things. There's a lot of things in Mira Mesa. I'm like, why do we have this? I was over at PHR when I worked for the city for a while. So I was there for about 4 months. So that's Pacific Highlands Ranch and Forest Ranch, Del Sur area. And I know when I wanted something fixed at that rec center, they were there the next day. It was crazy. Because that's their flagship. In that community, if they have a pothole, it is covered the next day. And I know they have Miller Rouge taxes still in place and they're collecting more revenue. I get that. But we shouldn't be ignored or neglected. And I think we need to start being a better voice for our own concerns here in Mesa. Because if we're loud, they'll pay attention to us. And I'm not saying we're going to be rowdy and obtuse and cause any problems, but we need to be a voice for Mesa.
But specifically, how do we do that?
We organize, we become a coalition. I think one of the reasons the city put the bids back out so quick for the rec center over here at Phase 2 is because we were doing a meat campaign starting back in December about why isn't this happening. And they don't want the bad press. There's elections coming up too. They don't want that.
Can I say that I'm a candidate for mayor of the city of San Diego in June? And I will see what I can do to be a good mayor for everybody. I live next to the park at Marabella, and I definitely do care about it. Thank you.
Are new developments still having to pay developer fees for parks and
I believe so.
because you need to pay for them. There hasn't been much new building in San Diego, except in Mira Mesa and one other neighborhood, like 30th Street.
Yeah.
So we should be bringing in a lot of fees, right?
Yeah, there is something I want to say too, and this is one of the reasons why we don't think we have a voice. I don't know if you queued it up. I'm going to play that audio video if you have it up. So this is one of these that bother me a little bit. I know I work at Vandyfield in Parks and Rec. I've met him a couple times. He's the director of Parks and Rec. And he's a nice guy. He is. I think he's a politician. I used to say that when I first started working in 2019 because he always comes up, he does his speech, pumps up his team members, which is great. But it's very much like a politician. That's not it. He reminds me of the guy from Running Man sometimes. But he's a great guy. I like him. But when I saw this clip from the meeting they had at the planning committee back in April, it kind of bothered me a little bit. It's one of the reasons we started getting together and go, what are we going to do about this? How are we going to fix this problem? Well, we got to be a voice. So we got that. You got it.
Are you actually my number two?
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Well, while they're going through this, I'll give you a teaser for it. So one of the things that Unity's going through, talking to Kennedy, is on the planning committee, and they're talking about there's going to be a change to the proposed renovations at Mira Mesa Community Park. And he goes, asked Andy if he would talk about it. Andy goes, I'll be more than happy to talk about it. Andy said during his comment that the community has decided they wanted that structure, the building I pointed out, the new rec center built somewhere else. And I'm like, who in the community said that? Because I didn't say that. I think most people in this room, most people I've worked with who use sports, they didn't say that. So here, we'll just play it for you.
Over the years, especially because I think originally there was intention to build a new rec center here in front of the park, and that sort of has changed with some of the updates we've seen in the community. Yes, Councilmember, I'll be happy to take that question as well. The general development plan slide that was up on the screen a little bit ago shows a second building being constructed next to the existing building. We realized that was going to be a $10 to $20 million additional cost to the project, so we wanted to ensure the park was delivered, and frankly, that was part of our earlier discussion with the community was, where do you want that next recreation center to go? Do you want to have two of them side by side in the same park, or do you want to have them geographically separated? Meanwhile, we had a conversation with the developer of Three Roots and asked them when they developed the community park in that area of Mira Mesa, that there be a plat with all of the utilities present to construct a recreation center there. And so as we look forward and prospectively at the next major project in the community, once Three Roots Park is delivered by the developer and open for public use, we are anticipating amassing funds then to design and construct a recreation center at Three Roots, and then beyond that, looking back at Mira Mesa to build an expansion of the existing center. So we're fairly confident that this will help deliver some of the needed improvements to bring parks to one of the most rapidly expanding communities in the city, and we're very excited about the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you for giving some context behind that. I was, of course, on the other side of these conversations, part of the planning group for years, and
So they're gonna skip over us and then come back.
Maybe.
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 And we've already been waiting 20 years.
Oh, it's been longer than that.
And
Yeah.
so this is something to me that's dear to my heart, not because I work for Parks and Rec, because I live in the community. And my kids, they use those facilities. And being in the Gil Johnson Recreation Center, we're impacted. I started a volleyball clinic about a year and a half ago. And, you know, we can only have so many kids in the gym. The gym's small. I have 2 clinics around on Wednesday, one at 5, one at 6, and we're at 20 capacity for both of them. I'm turning kids away. And it's strange because we do have the other rec center out here, our bus has a gymnasium, and they do clinics and they're turning kids away. Like, we need facilities. And in my opinion, because this is the hub of Mira Mesa, this is where it should start. Three Roots, we can come back to that one later.
Well, you're turning kids away who live in this community.
Who live
pay
right here.
taxes here and are entitled to those services. I can't.
It would be nice to have better facilities. I think we have, like I mentioned earlier, we have world-class tech companies down the road, biotech companies, and we did not have world-class recreation centers to accommodate those companies down the road. There's no reason why we shouldn't. So, but I want to get into, because they were talking about budget a little bit, and I don't want to draw too long. I'm going to let Amy talk about the budget. Are you ready? Because she can shed some light on that, because the other thing that gets me about that clip is they talk about it's going to be 10 to 20 million to build the center. We can't afford to build it here, but we can build it down there.
Yeah.
State of the art down there.
Down there, but not here. And so I'm going to let her touch on that and go through the budget. Talk about some of the funds we have in the area for this.
Who is funding for the Three Roots? Is that City of San Diego or is the Three Roots itself funding for all that?
They were formerly.
That would be the city of San Diego. There you go. So, my name is Lainey Hardman. I know some of you here. I have been a resident in Mira Mesa since 2000. My daughter went to school at Sandburg, Challenger, Rainbow Kids Preschool, Mira Mesa High School. I volunteered with PTA, Girl Scouts, Town Council, different organizations in the area. And as a resident, from 2000, I've seen a lot of different things happen. And one of the things that I would really like to see is for Mira Mesa to have a larger voice. For a community this large, we shouldn't have to wait for anything. But we're not properly organized to advocate for ourselves. And I think that we can change that. And now's the time. So I wanted to go over 2 things. The Mira Mesa Community Fund. Show of hands. How many of you knew or heard of the Mira Mesa Community Fund? Okay. Most of you don't. I didn't know. And then I want to talk about Mira Mesa Consolidated Fund. So let's start with the Mira Mesa Community Fund. People look at that number, fund number 400-182. Okay, I'm going to give you a brief timeline of the Mira Mesa Community Fund. This was established with proceeds from the Westview Development Agreement and Settlement Agreement with Chappelle Industries. A total of $2,001,412 was deposited in this fund and was to be used for public improvements in Mira Mesa, quote, as defined by the community. The interest earned as of 6/30/2016 was $530,593, bringing the total to $2,532,005. On December 2nd, 1997, the City Council established the Mira Mesa Teen Center Fund by transferring $500,000 from the Mira Mesa Community Fund. The interest generated from this fund could could be used, if necessary, to cover operational shortfalls for the San Diego Regional Teen Center near Mesa. That's the epicenter. Okay? There was $308,687 in interest earnings as of 6/30/2016. Of that amount, $297,500 was dispersed. So there were operational shortfalls at the epicenter that equaled that amount. On April 14, 2016, the City Council approved the closure of the teen center and transferred the remaining funds, which was the original $500,000 plus $11,187 back to the Mira Mesa community. Okay, I just kind of wanted to go over, because most of you probably don't know, what some of the expenditures were for the Mira Mesa Community Fund. So I kind of consolidated some top lot improvements and upgrades at our parks. Mira Mesa Senior Center parking lot expansion. So Mira Mesa Seaport, CP Sports Field lighting. And then reimbursed Harmonium. That was the company that facilitated the epicenter for reuse plans through the Old Mira Mesa Library. Redeveloped so this is again epicenter related, and then the teen center transfer epicenter related as well. So after all of these expenditures, this fund had $400,750. So remember that the $500 was meant to come back. Okay. So the subtotal was $400,750. Then when we got the $511,187 back, the total fund as of 6/30/2016 was $911,937. Okay, just so you know, at that point, this fund went poof. You know, out of public sight, you know, sitting in limbo. I wanted to show you the division of the funds so you can see what it, you know, in a percentage pie chart of what we spent it on. So as you can see, most of these funds were spent on the epicenter. I have some feelings about that because I feel like we didn't really have an ROI for that, and that's a lot of money to spend on one thing going to a third-party company. When Harmonium left in 2016, we recouped none of that money back. Gone, forever. But at that point, as I said, we had $911,937 left. Okay, now, as of last year, we had, this is what we know we had in this fund. And the reason that we found out is because we knew, and I wasn't a resident here at that time, but when this fund was established, part of what this fund was intended for was for performing arts, was to build something for the Mira Mesa Theater Guild. Well, the projection changed from that, but so when we were looking at trying to build a performance center today, we thought maybe some of these funds could be seed money for arts and culture in Mira Mesa. And that's when we started down this rabbit hole of where is this money? Who manages this money? How do you ask for money from this fund? And along the way, this is what we found out. So as of August of last year, this fund had $1,014,108.30. Okay? And we found out that $1 million of these dollars were allocated for the park expansion. Now, one thing to tell you, to use these funds, you have to have it approved by the city council. So we were trying to figure out when did this happen. Well, it didn't. There was no meeting. This was not publicly allocated in the correct way. This was done behind the scenes. So we were told that there's $14,108.30 left for other projects. Now, allocated does not mean it's completely spent, but it was allocated out of the account so you can't attach it to other things, right? All right, so then we're like, what, who, where, when, how, why? All right, what? So $1 million was incorrectly allocated to the Mira Mesa Park Expansion Project, and this was done without a vote, as I said. And who did it? It was Andy Field, told us recently, December 20th, that he didn't understand that you needed to have a full vote. And so he allocated he wanted to try to get more funds for the Mira Mesa Park expansion. And so this was done outside of public knowledge. We found at the same presentation that John was talking about earlier, that the city staff had made a request that, for a resolution, that they could use funds from, well, these are the things that were part of the budget already, and I will go over that. From the FBA, DIF, but also that they wanted to use funds from, oh wait, hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself. This is where these resolutions were put forth. At the April 13th meeting last year, at the Active Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, and that's chaired by our council member, Kennedy. So the city asked if they could expend more funds for the Mira Mesa Park expansion. Okay, so there were two important resolutions that you need to know that happened at that meeting that were voted on and passed. One, a resolution authorizing them that the amount of this park, with the budget would not exceed $40,000, and then they would get the lowest responsible and reliable bidder, and again, not to exceed $40 million. And contract change orders is like if there's additional money to be spent. So this is what they voted on, and this is where you're hearing things like, it's a $40 million, right? Okay, the resolution that really kind of made my head hot is that this was the funding that they were getting for the park expansion. So, Fund 40085, Mira Mesa, FBA, that was part of the budget. The Development Impact Funds, that was part of the budget. But, look at this, 400-182, Mira Mesa Community Capital Outlay. What's that? That's the Mira Mesa Community Fund. They changed the name. $1 million. Also, they're taking money from the senior center. Okay, and this was passed. This was passed. So, had this gone to the city council, we would have lost this money, we wouldn't even. Gone forever, right? Okay, when this was brought up to Councilmember Lee, he said he didn't know what happened, but also that city council members were instructed to spend legacy funds as a result of a grand jury report. According to our research, this grand jury report that he's referring to is in regard to developer impact fees. Our Mira Mesa Community Fund is not a developer impact fee. It should not have been a part of this directive. So, we want to know why they're attempting to recategorize our fund under this directive. This money belongs to the Mira Mesa community. This is not meant to fill gaps in city funding. And it's not something that they can take from us. This is for us to use in our community. So how do we protect this fund? Currently, there's no process in place to request these funds that has transparency, representation, or equity. This is what we need in this community. We are the residents. This fund was made for us. We need a voice. We need to be able to make suggestions. We need to be able to know that it's happening, and we need accountability. So, some of the actions that we could take, we were talking about what can we do? We need to clarify the categorization of the Mira Mesa Community Fund. This is not a developer impact fund. Todd Gloria should not be asking for our fund to be spent quickly and and try to claim that it's part of a legal proceeding like the grand jury report. It is not. We need to contact Councilmember Kent Lee and Todd Gloria. It has been really difficult to work with Kent Lee to find out anything. I give him the benefit of the doubt that maybe he didn't know. But what's true is he doesn't respond back. I sent an email about all this a week ago. I sent another one today. You don't hear from him, right? When I did hear from him, on December 20th, the same day we found out that Andy told us that he took the funds, Ken Lee's rep told us it never happened. This didn't happen. Funds weren't allocated. This is what it's like to deal with this office, and it was very rudely done too. We need to create a process of requesting these funds that is equitable and provides all residents the opportunity to present requests and vote on requests. The future and management of this fund should not be done by a few people out of the public view. We need to be able to submit requests and vote. Equality is different from equity. You know, equal access is different than having a voice. You know, and this is something that we've learned again and again in this country, that equal access is the bare minimum. Equity is when we all have a stake and we all have a voice. And in this digital age, there's no reason that we can't all have a voice in this process. All right, Mira Mesa Community Fund 2024. What can we spend these funds on? This is where we have to come up and decide. And one of the, Pregnancy actually had a great idea that one of the things we can do is what they did with the teen centers. We can have a portion of this money sit and use the interest annually and have it be a regenerated fund. You know, we can decide of some of the things that we could spend the money on. You know, they did it for the teen center. Why can't we do it for ourselves, where we have more say? This way we don't use all of the fund, but, you know, maybe we use a portion of it, and then we use the interest to fund other initiatives in Mira Mesa that we vote for. All right. The next thing I want to talk about is the Mira Mesa Consolidated Funds. So, Mira Mesa FBA, Mira Mesa GIF. FBA had $179,603,165, and this is of September 30th of last year. Developer Impact Funds, $6,494,441. That's the fund that was in the grand jury report. And you know why that was there? Because the city was mismanaging those funds. So the grand jury said, you have to do a better job of managing these funds. And the response from the mayor was, spend these funds as quickly as possible. Let's get rid of them.
Or anybody can stop.
Yeah, good job, Bob.
So the Mira Mesa Facilities Building Assessment, FBA, there's completed projects, and I kind of put what it is, but the most important one for tonight's discussion is this project, L160021, Mira Mesa Expansion, Pool and Skate Plaza. The funds expended so far have been $3,837,584. The funds budgeted are $40,025,842 out of this fund. Okay? We have $264,239 left in this fund, right? That's the Mira Mesa Consolidated Fund, those two together. So, we have funds. This had a total budget between the FDA and GIF of $44,051,592. When you take out what's already been spent, that leaves us with $40,214,008. And as you said, there's like over $9 million still left. There is absolutely no reason for them to use this funds from the senior center or our community fund. Our community fund was not meant to stop gaps for state funding. So, here's where you can take action again. We need to push back on Todd Gloria and Kent Lee to protect our community fund. And knowledge is power. You know, when they say they need more money, we know that they have it. There's budget. There's money. They don't need to come after our money. They don't need to come after the senior center's money. This project is funded, and if additional funds are needed, they could use it from the consolidated fund. And we need to push back on Mira Mesa Rec Council and Mira Mesa Planning Group to create an equitable process for the community to get information and participate in decisions. Equal access to their meetings is not enough. We need equitable access. The voices of Mira Mesa residents deserve to be heard. That's it. I don't know if you want any questions later, or?
I just want to say this about the funding. The Mira Mesa Community Fund, we're not the only community that has funds. And I think we need to set a precedent for all the communities around San Diego that we can protect our funds, we can use it for the community the way we see it. And I think it's important
And John, it is. We found it's happening all over the city. And there's an investigative report going on about it right now as we speak. This is happening everywhere. The city has failed us, and yeah, I agree with John. Let us be the ones to fight back.
And to do that, we have to have a voice. And that's really why we're here again tonight, to have a voice. I know Kent Lee's office did a little bashing there, but I'm not here to be opposition to Kent Lee's office. I'm here to work with his office. That's my vision. And I'm here to work with county council. I'm here to work with all the other Mira Mesa stakeholders we have, if they're companies, whatever, I'm here to work with them. I'm not here to be divisive. Having said that, and you come to a meeting like this, we're not all going to agree. We're not. But we need to have a safe place where we can come and disagree and decide what we want to do for our community. And that's what Mira Mesa champions is going to be. It's going to be a safe place for people to come, and we can talk about what's going on in Mira Mesa. We may not agree all the time. It's like a family. But we'll figure out what we should prioritize and do what's best for our community. And a lot of it starts with the funding and getting some of these projects done that we've been waiting years for. Like, I'm still heartbroken. I'm not going to get to go to that pool with my kids when they're little and hang out with my aunt. It hurts. That's my biggest, hey, my kids are going to be out of the house and gone. They're not going to want to come back when they're 22 and hang out with me at a pool.
Yeah, I have a real quick question. For these funds go from the original purpose and the original pot to be used there, I've served on a few committees and boards, and there is a requirement in every one of those that I've served on that if that fund was defunct or that club was no longer, being held anymore, then the previous sponsor or what have you, if you want to say coach kind of thing, had to sign off and say, yes, this club is defunct, we agree that the money can go into the general fund and then for disbursement. That is basic standard accounting 101 and accountability and ethics. So how can the city take the money from the stakeholders without those stakeholders signing off on it? Who signed off on that? Because
That's one of the ways to protect funds, is by targeting them. So if you belong to an organization and you write them the general check, they can use it for whatever they want. If you write a check and say, put on there, this is for this fund, if they legally can't put it for something.
Yeah, I don't know.
the money is there, so I don't understand how it went from there to there.
I don't know who said it was okay to use those funds or whatever. It may have been incomplete. They didn't know. I mean, it could be.
But it violates all standard practice.
It's not.
It's not.
I will say this.
That's what was said. I didn't know.
I will say this with my involvement in local government, they account for every penny. They know where every penny is. They know how it's supposed to be allocated and how it's supposed to be operated. I can't do anything at the Guild Not the Recreation Center without passing through 5 different people and getting signed off. It's not like it was 30 years ago where they give you a $50,000 credit card, say, do what you need to do, then run these programs.
I will also say that the person that told us about it got in trouble.
Wow.
At the city.
Because he told us.
Because
He shared the information.
Yeah, so, I mean, but this is why we're here tonight. And so, I think right now, what we need to figure out is how we're going to proceed forward. If we have this meeting tonight, that's great. I see a lot of great people here from the community. How are we going to move forward? What is our next step? That's what we're open for discussion.
I'd be interested to know what's on the board.
Yeah.
Can I just throw out an idea, suggestion, especially since it's an election year? And Laney pointed it out, what's being done to us is being done in other communities. And like you said, there is power in numbers. And this would be a prime time to try to get it on the ballot, to have everyone vote, so that what is being done to us cannot be done. Because we can stamp out the problem, but the bottom line is, if there's not a law in place prohibiting it, and there's not specific procedures on the requirements, I guarantee you,
That money's going to go.
it's going to happen again over and over.
Agreed.
No, I agree.
Is somebody leading areas, like I'm young,
So,
fairly young,
this is just
do
an
we
idea.
have like a leader or what?
This is an idea that someone had. I told them I would speak tonight.
This is the time for you guys to rise up and lead. So those people who are interested to to kind of join the movement and have leaders, but this is the time to do that. And
But to your point, there's no elected official. We don't have a mayor. We don't vote on the ballots for anyone. There is no leader. There's volunteers.
Can we have one?
Yes.
For the-
Can we vote?
We have to.
That's something we need to talk about, like, where do we want this group to go? How do we want it to proceed forward? I think tonight, we can just open up with some discussion that we already had, and we can set like another meeting date, and find a date that doesn't conflict with other things in the city, because I want other people to be able to come. Like, I'm really happy to see Jeff here tonight. Jeff's highly involved in the city, he knows everything works, he's doing. He's been doing it for years, and I know Jeff probably didn't agree with everything I said tonight, it's okay. Because we're here to have a conversation. I don't have a problem with that. I don't mind Jeff coming to speak, because that's what we're here to do, is have a conversation and do what's best for the community. I'm not here to make any enemies. I'm here to create a coalition where we can work together and get things done for this community. That's our ultimate goal. I mean, we all have things we want to get done. I'm sure you guys have things you want to see done in Mayor Mason. I know you said you've been here since 71. Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of things we need to work on, but we need to work together and get this stuff done. So, we don't have anybody who's the president of Mayor Mesa Champions right now. We don't have any organization. We are just getting this information out there, and then you guys decide this is something that I would like to see happen.
So why don't we make one?
We can start setting that in process. Yeah.
May I ask something?
Yeah.
I would like to know, I think you're the youngest, well, besides you, the other lady back there, you're the youngest family here. How did you hear about this meeting?
I got an email.
We got an email. Yeah, she got an email, I got an email.
From who?
I had,
Oh,
The
because he's
reason
in
why I found out about
town.
this meeting was because I had a need. I came to rent this center, and I was told about the information that's going on there based on. When I was a young mother like you, I was very involved in city council, AYSO, PTA treasurer, all those things like you. AYSO mom, teen mom and all that. My kids grew up, I, like you, did not see a pool over 35 years since I've been here. But you found out through an email. I have never received an email. How do we as a community, how did you get your email address so that the Bureau of Town Council or whatever found out? Has it gone before?
I can tell you what I did. My wife's a member of the Mayor Mason neighborhood,
Next door. That's how I found out too, but.
and told me to go.
Yana channel, I found it out, is next door.
Next door.
Yeah, next door. I put it up on next door too. Sorry, I can't speak for all the young folks, but I'm 22, I found out through Instagram.
Hey,
That's the way the world works.
Yeah.
So, this is the one thing that is going to be important for this group as we progress forward, and we need to have the conversation like you said in the back, that we need to organize. But we also need some young blood in here, because I know nothing about Instagram, or Twitch, or whatever else they use out there.
Passed away.
Isn't Twitch the gaming one though?
Is it? I'm already looking at it. I think you were talking about it before the offer.
But we do need to organize, because social media is a great tool. And we can definitely use it to our advantage to communicate with our fellow citizens here in Mayor Mesa, and I think that's something we should definitely look at. Exactly where we're going with this, that's for us to decide. Like, I'm not here to tell you guys where we're going, but I do want to organize, and get things done. So, one of the things we do, I know we collected all the emails, contact details over here. We'll probably follow up here in the next few days with the email going out. But we would like to set another meeting date. For me, I'm going to set a meeting date where everybody can be involved. Like I said, because I thought you guys had a planning committee tonight, did you not?
We're supposed to be, because Chairman wanted to review his meeting on the, search for the,
Yeah, so I mean, I want to have everybody here. This is a community meeting. We're not excluding anybody, okay? And again, we're not all going to agree. I'm going to be up here talking, I see people shaking their head, and I get it, it's cool. You're not going to agree. But I definitely want to get the conversation started and start moving in the direction where we're getting things done for Mayor Mesa, because we need some improvements. Like I said before, the thing that blows my mind is we have Qualcomm down here. We got some big tech companies, we got all these beautiful companies, microbrews all over. And there's commerce coming through, we got industry, we can improve our parks. We can improve our roads. We have the ability to do it, we just need to be a voice to do it.
Is there so for Mira Mesa Champions, is there a website?
We are in the process of creating that, yeah.
Because that would really help to get the information that we see here. So when people can't make a meeting, we can at least spread the word.
Yep.
And we can direct our neighbors and friends to that site.
We definitely know Janae's been working on building a website.
They will do the website.
Janae's been doing a website for us. We do have that under construction. I don't know if it's completely done, but I know it's well. So we're in the process of building things and getting things in place. We're setting the foundation for this group so we can be a voice for Mira Mesa. And it's important to me, and I know we talked about it with MITS. Just so you guys know, I grew up in Kansas. My mom and dad were involved in politics for years. My mom was the 42nd District State Rep in Kansas for 8 years. And so I've been around politics. I know how it works. I've seen it. And so I want to make sure that we're setting ourselves up because we have elections coming up. That's the best time to enter your voice. The best time. Yes.
Yeah, so on our part, we are here to support your logistics and the meeting venue. And we have an organization that's sponsoring the use of this 2 hours meeting because that's the rules. You can't just use the senior center. You rent the building. So we want to make sure that we are we're following those rules. Okay? So the food, they are all sponsored by a 501c4 organization. So that's the part that we can do. But I think the young generation should drive the agenda. Okay? And we've been there. We don't have to be somebody, and the young generation should drive the agenda, and we're just here to support you. Okay? So now it's all up to you. And just come to the senior center, and if you want
I'm going to be watching those young kids, though.
The reality is that if we don't do it ourselves, it isn't going to happen. We do have an elected official. Ken Lee was elected to represent this community. He doesn't talk that way. If you send emails, if you try to call, it doesn't work. If you send an email, a few weeks later, maybe you'll get back a formal email. Yes, we'll take that into consideration, and thank you very much. Bye-bye.
I was just gonna say that a lot of people don't have information about if this was a result of a lot of hard work and digging. So whoever takes over, you have to remember, you can't just go on something that doesn't make sense. Now they have that information, they're sharing it with our community, so we can do something about it. So we have to always be on top of these things, as you said. I've said it from the beginning, Mira Mesa deserves more. We deserve the best. We don't deserve leftovers or afterthoughts. And things that should have happened here didn't. And that's why talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends. How do we share this stuff? I tell people all the time, they're outraged. So share that, talk to people.
We can definitely do better. I've always, since I've been around politics, I've always liked, some of the quotes here from the founding fathers when they built your republic. And Ben Franklin said, we built your republic if you can. This group is something that we can build, but we have to be ever vigilant to keep it going. We have to be on it. You're exactly right. It's not something where we can just take a break, and take a couple years off and come back. We have to be consistently a voice for Mira Mesa, consistently active in the community so we can be seen. We have to be, seen out on Instagram or wherever so that people want to be a part of it. I really want this group to be a welcoming group. I want everybody to be able to be involved.
Do you plan on doing a presentation or getting on the agenda at the town council meeting once a month?
I don't know if we're there yet, but I wouldn't mind going and talking to town council.
Well, I think you should, because all this talk about, we don't have a head, we don't have a, we do. We have the Mira Mesa Town Council. You go there, the issues are discussed, our representatives are there with either their representative or themselves, so you can talk to them. The town council has been in existence since the 70s. We do have a say in the city. The planning group has a say at the city. Now, they listen to us, that's another story. But we do have a body here in Mira Mesa that represents Mira Mesa with the city and its entities.
And they allow the.
They are not elected, they are not elected, they're self-appointed.
They're not
Not
elected.
elected.
No,
they're not represented.
They're not elected. I'm not saying that. They are not elected, and this community doesn't qualify to have an elected official. But we do have an organization that takes what we think, votes on it at the town council or not, but takes our ideas to the city council in whatever department. it
Brenda,
is.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I brought all this about community fund to the town council, I'm still waiting for a board meeting. I asked to present, you know,
You don't
so,
go to a board meeting. You can't, only the board's allowed at a board meeting.
that is not true, I was on the board. We had other people that weren't in the board come to those meetings. That is incorrect.
When we ask you to provide some information before having a meeting, you wouldn't do it.
I asked for a meeting so we could talk about it. You wanted to fact check what we were going to say. And then we had our meeting in October at Mira Mesa Concerned Citizens, but we came to you, Jeff, we came to you. So, I mean, what I would say for this, no, but I asked for a meeting. I needed to provide proof before the meeting. I never got a meeting. I'm still
You
waiting.
needed to provide the information that you wanted to discuss.
You were the only one that asked for that, and I asked for a meeting, and we never got it. I have all the emails. I have all the receipts. I have every receipt.
So do I.
Well, I do too. But here's the thing. One of the things too is that when you're talking about is that we need mentorship. So it's one thing to say, like, the young people need to do this, but how? Because getting this information on this community fund was not easy. And there were the channels that you would think we would have gone to weren't helpful. So, you know, Miss and Sandy, this was a concerted effort of PRA requests, of asking uncomfortable questions, because I agree with what John's saying. I actually do want to work together too, but then when they're not working with you, what do? You have to push back. So this was not a small thing, but what I think would be helpful is not just to do this, but to teach. If you want to go to a city council meeting, how do you do it? You know, where do you park? How do you get on the agenda? Same for a county meeting. Where do you park? How do you get on the agenda? Well, how much time do you have? Who can you take with you? What time do you have to go there? There's little tricks, like you got to go there like way before so you could get before this time. Can you call in? You know, there's a lot of information that we could share to make everyone empowered so that you all have a means of working through the city and learning. It shouldn't just be a couple people. And if we're going to empower anyone else, the young people, we have to give you a leg up. You have to know how to do it. I didn't know how to do it. You know, I was mentored. So we need to, it's not just sharing information. We have to mentor our residents and help them and give them input.
Are you going to give Jeff time because he has court for the
I don't mind if Jeff comes up and be part of the conversation.
Pardon me?
He can be part of it. I know we're getting on our time.
No. I can answer.
Yeah.
I think we have to understand that we are residents of Mira Mesa. If you bought a house here in Mira Mesa, you have a say. Just because you are not a paid member of the Mira Mesa Town Council, or you are not part of the planning group that is recognized by the City of San Diego talking about development, not because you are not sitting on the Park and Rec advisory group, that doesn't mean that you don't have a voice. Each of you here who has a house in Mira Mesa should have an equal voice when it comes to talking to your elected officials, to your mayor, to anybody. And I will not relinquish my rights as a resident that I bought a house in '83 just because a group spoke for you without my knowledge. Because you have to know that we have about 80,000 people in Mira Mesa. And most of those people does not even know probably the three major groups in Mira Mesa that elected officials usually ask for input. That's not good enough. And that's why I challenge the city. They gotta have to expand their horizon of getting a community engagement, as they said, that they want to have an inclusive engagement that includes all the residents. That is what their plan is. And that's the reason why the planning group is being asked to submit how they're going to engage the population. Isn't that Jeff, that you have to show? Because they know that in the past there's a lot of complaint. That's only a few people decide how your community is being developed. You know, like when Anfield said, the community decided. But who? I never know about.
That's the
But
big
you
thing.
want Three Roots to have the second building, you know, before the Bill Johnson Rec Center.
That's one of the big things that struck me. I don't mean to interrupt you, Miss. That's one of the big things that struck me is he said the community. I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Who was the community?
Like 6 people.
There's like, yeah, it's 4 or 5 or 6 people. And that's one of the reasons we said we have to do something different, or we're not going to get what we were promised.
So let's have a wider engagement, and that's the thing that we are trying to challenge. I told Anfield, I said, it has to be expanded because we got 80,000 people, and I think no one here should relinquish your rights to be heard. Okay? As long as you have a residence in Mira Mesa, we have equal voice.
I agree with Councilor. I see more people here tonight than I see people going to the town council. I'm very embarrassed. We don't have this many people that are town council. And here we are complaining about we're not talking to get done. Maybe if anybody would show up, have a lot more people there. I don't know, but I'm embarrassed. There's about 15.
So Jeff, why don't you
The rest are board people.
why don't you do a quick introduction of yourself and just talk, you've been here for a while.
I'm Jeff Stevens, I'm on the board of the Mira Mesa County Council. I was chair of the River Community Planning Group for most of the last 8 years. All through the new community planning data. I've been on the planning groups since the 1980s off and on. I'm also on the Mira Mesa Recreation Council. Just the background information on these groups, the Mira Mesa Planning Group and the Mira Mesa Recreation Council actually initiated by the city. There is a city ordinance that says every community will have a planning group, every community will have a recreation advisory group, what's called community recreation groups. And so that's why these groups are the ones that advise the city on recreation issues and on planning issues, because the city has set them up. Anybody can go and talk to their council member and tell them what they want, anything they want about these issues. But these are the formal ways that it's done. And the people on these groups have a lot of background. They understand the community planning and planning group. They understand a lot of recreation issues on the recreation council. So that the influence of these groups is not because they're just a few people who want control, or because it's because the city has set things up this way, and because you have knowledgeable people on this group who actually know something about these issues. You know, knowledge is important. So a lot of what I've heard here is based on a lack of understanding or a recent understanding. So these funds, the community funds and the FBA DIF funds, we've been monitoring those for decades. We used to meet every year with the city. I had the entire FBA program on a spreadsheet on my computer. For 20 years, up until 2016, we would meet the city every year. We would go over all the projected development, all the projected income, and figure out when we would be able to build these projects. So, and those of us who've been on the planning, who've been on these committees, we understand these things. The community funds, we've been monitoring that since its inception. It's not a mystery to us. We know what it is. There was a stakeholders group set up by the Mira Mesa Town Council to oversee how the money was spent. And what they did was they invited all of the nonprofit groups in the city to be part of the stakeholders group and to make recommendations on how the money would be spent. I think you've seen the first report that came out of the group, which was to build a teen center and a show of a theater next to it. That was the recommendation that came out of the stakeholders committee. It also produced the recommendations for the park improvements and for the expansion of the senior center parking lot. Now, the last time it met it only meets when there's something to do, was in 2016 when the epicenter closed. and then said, what do we do now? And the decision at that point was to retain the money to try to renovate the epicenter building, to remodel it as a community center. And that's what we were doing up until the city came back and said it took $3 million to do that, and we just couldn't do it, so it's been dormant since that time. The rec center, if you look at a 1992 community plan, I actually worked on that as well as the recent one. You'll see that we're supposed to have 3 community parks and 3 recreation centers. The 3 community parks were supposed to be at Hourglass, here at Mermaid Community Park, and at Challenger, South Challenger Middle School. There was supposed to be a recreation center on each one, and the pool was supposed to be on the one by Challenger. So what happened was, the Challenger site ended up being covered with vernal pools, too much so to use that for anything, and we had to abandon that park. So then what do we do with the pool and rec center? We moved both of them back here to Mermaid Park. This is still a good place for the pool, but it's not a particularly good place to have 2 recreation centers. It was put here, that was the only place to put it. So we worked for a long time to try to find another replacement for that community park. The only place with enough land is in Shoal Canyon. We tried to do that through Stone Creek, unsuccessfully, but then when Hanson was the owner of the Three Roots property, offered to build the community park as a way as part of their project, that finally gave us the
Think that,
park in the community.
do you think that the current rec center here is adequate for this community? With one
No,
small
I'd like to see it renovated and replaced.
That's absolutely what we want. And they need to build 3 routes too to accommodate. I mean, like I said, I've been around the city, I've worked with the city, I've been everywhere. North Claremont, you know, they have a nice, they have their going in, PHR, we're on a time crunch, so I don't want to get too set. But we really need to focus on Mira Mesa Community Park. Because, you know, the town council, Jeff is very knowledgeable, no doubt about it. He's been in this, doing this for a while. But we also need to have a voice for where we want this stuff to go. And not have it move somewhere else where we don't see the benefits to our community, for our homes, people have been here paying taxes and living.
So that recommendation came through the planning group.
Who's on the planning group? How many people?
And can you vote? Like, can you speak at the planning group and for how many minutes? 2 minutes? The last time I went to a planning group meeting, we were told,
repeatedly, sit down and be quiet.
and they admitted, so we can't talk anymore.
Yeah, so this is the whole point of this group. I don't mean to cut you off, Jeff, because I know you can talk about more, but we are on the time crunch. We only have this room for so long. But what we need to do is we really need to get organized so that we can be a voice for the community. And the town council is doing things, and Jeff's working hard. I know Joe's working hard, but maybe they're not going the direction that the community really wants. And we need to be able to be a voice, say, hey, that's not what we want. You know, we want to go this direction. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to say something very quickly. I know on the top, I know our minds, but there's nothing wrong with competition. This is what America is based on. It's nothing wrong with political views being expressed. That's why you have Democrats and who are these other people? Republicans and independents. Now, this group needs to move forward. People my generation, their time is running out. And I'm gonna say this, and I hope you understand. I want to hear some new ideas, experience some new blood, people coming forth with some ideas, some young people who are not stuck on this way or that way. I would love to see, now, I have not a voice in this group. I pastor the church. I've been in this community since '74. My home, served in the Marine Corps, done all those patriotic things. However, this group is one of the best things I've heard in years. And if you miss your point now, your values, and you fail to move forward, that's on you. But you ought to take maybe this gentleman here, I may not know everybody's name, these two over here, maybe get tonight, maybe get 5 to 7 people who will take the time to meet together and start putting some things together. because I didn't see this going on, nothing taking place for a long time. But there are people in there who have some direction, who have vision, and you need to move forward with it, rather than we have meeting after meeting after meeting. You have to come together because you really represent what this group is about. It's about change, good change for the community. I would love to support it, but I'm not going to be around a group where other people constantly, well, we got this group, we got that group. Nonsense. That's just nonsense. You got groups all over the place. We need a group that's going to do something for our kids, for the community, and the people here can do that. And so I say to you, let's get it done. If 7 of you need to meet afterwards, because I know people love to look at the clock. If someone wants to meet afterwards, just sit together, get together so we can start getting a little nucleus going. I mean, you've got the energy, you've got direction, you know what's going on, let's do it. If somebody from town council wants to be a part, fine. I've seen what town council can do and what they cannot do since 1974. So I'm not speaking as a voice that's for or against, but we need to move forward with another organization, I would call it a ministry, but another organization that's going to move and cause some things to happen in this community, because it's been far too long that we've done nothing but talk. And I love it. Who's that, 22-year-old? What is?
Yeah.
You need to be on that. You need to be on that. But that's right after this meeting, if you would, if you consider it, maybe about 5 to 7 people who really can take the time. Because I feel your passion. And we don't want that to change. And we don't want to change from over here. Some people can make a difference.
So, yeah.
I'm done.
Appreciate it. What I would like to see happen, again, is we want to form this group to be a voice for Mayor Mason. And as we find projects that we see up here on the board, my goal is to reach out to people in the community who know about that project and to get them involved and help us get this thing done. You know, I'm not going to be the expert at everything. I don't plan on it. I may be leading some things. I'm not going to lead everything. If we need potholes fixed, I don't know people that work for streets division. I mean, if we need something done with the school, maybe I'm not the best guy for that. I played football at Kansas State. I'm involved in athletics. I know about Parks and Rec. I know recreation. I know health and fitness. I know that's the really good. I think we're wrapping up. Yeah, I think we're good to go. We can always come back. We'll come back to next one.
Or you can take a look at the board and see what, so you need to summarize what's there. I mean, we like,
So I talked about the library carpet earlier, paving roads, equitable representation for residents. That's the big thing. That's really what I'm reaching for here. Jet noise. So I actually work up on base on occasions. So I know what you guys talk about. The air show is definitely it's a lot of noise. It's kind of cool. A voice of the city council. We want to be a voice. New performing arts community center. That would be cool to have. Like I said, my son, I did sports all growing up with him, coaching him in basketball. When he got to high school, he did music. He plays 5 instruments now. He's got talent I don't have that talent. Keyboard, guitar, ukulele, learning the harmonica now. I mean, it's pretty neat. I already talked about the ADUs, better library, new carpet and tables, nice. More speed control, speed bumps like anything down the street somebody had said earlier. That'd be nice in some areas. We can need that. The pool, talked about that. A real bar in Mesa.
Whoever came up with that should be president.
Hey, I will say this. There's nothing better than a good sports bar, and we don't really have one in Grand Mesa. We have the Tomcat, maybe. But,
Ooh, and
yeah. I mean, we could do something there. One of my favorite places when I go out to Las Vegas, it's supposed to be Bree Wide. It's one of the coolest bars I've ever been in my life. Really cool. We definitely need one of those in Grand Mesa to go watch the Chiefs play. I'm a Chiefs fan. I know, it's pretty weird. Community parks renovate, traffic control. Again, a lot of these are the same thing, voice for Mayor Mesa. better monitoring of parks, that's something that's really near and dear to me. When I'm at Joe Johnson, I'll just touch on this real quick. I've been the only acting administrator there for 8 months. We're supposed to have 2. And so the city's saving thousands of dollars not hiring that person. We did interview back in September. So now they're finally bringing a person in. But we also supposed to have a grounds maintenance worker take care of the building. We've never had that since I've been. So I spent my first hour and a half in there cleaning. And I'm supposed to do all these administrative tasks, and that's got to stop. We got to start getting cities, holding them accountable, and filling positions so we can care for our parks. When I was over at Scripps Ranch working, they have contracted care for their parks. And that's why their parks are so much nicer. It is. They actually have full staff teams that come in and take care of their parks. I think that's something that, me working for the city in the role I am, I would love to see fully staffed parks and we can properly maintain. That's why that building kind of looks the way it does too, because there's nobody there to take care of it. It hasn't been since last. My understanding is there hasn't been somebody there in the building since like 2017. And that's just I can do it. I don't have no problem picking up a mop and doing what I need to do. I try to lead by example, make sure my staff does it, but that shouldn't be something that this community has to deal with. Because sometimes you go in there and that floor, I mean, it needs care. It's a lot of the same things. So I think this is a good point to stop tonight. I have no idea how many of you guys want to be involved, but if you'd like to be involved in this group and address me tonight, let us know. Come forward. We'll start forming a group. My plan is, with Commission's help, to send out some email blasts after this to everybody who's been here tonight and really start organizing what we want to do next. And our first focus for me is the renovation of Mary Mesa Community Park. I'm really happy to see the city sent that back out to bid, because my understanding was when they pulled those bids off the table, they weren't going to send those bids back out to January. That's what I initially heard, but I think because there's been rumblings that they decided to get that done. It was good. And that's why we're here. Hopefully we had an impact on that. Good. And so I want to thank everybody for coming. Ms. thank you for letting me see the senior center. I really appreciate it. And hopefully I'll see everybody here in the near future. But as you're leaving, if you'd like to be involved in being an active role in this group, come see us. And we'll definitely take you up on that, because we need volunteers. We need people who will help us be a voice for Mira Mesa so we can start getting things done, because we deserve veterans.
And question is, what's the best time for people to meet? During the day or in the evening? Okay, next time, bring 2 people with you. Okay? You have a little friend. Why is that?